Is it you? Are you really my grandfather?
Yes. When it comes to our genetic makeup, the two of us are the same.
How is that possible?
Obi-Wan never told her what happened to her grandfather. So, turns out somehow the Emperor has returned. Well, not really. The Emperor is really just a clone of the Emperor this time, and he's really, really salty about being not a vassal for the original Emperor, and he's really disgusted by humanity, and he wants to wipe all humans out with these giant human blender things. I think that's basically the plot here. So, basically we had the big reveal that Norland is the clone of Charles Britannia. Story wise, I think this helps the story a little bit explain how Neo Britannia is so powerful and they're able to get away with so much stuff. Previous episode we found out he's Knight of the Round. This episode we found out he's an actual clone of the Emperor, and that explains how he was able to get like some of Charles's kids on board and everything, and how he had so much knowledge. So that does kind of fix some stuff with the plot, but it still doesn't fix with like how Nino was able to get around the wall, why nobody crushed Neo Britannia all these years, why Schneisel's a clever dude, how he couldn't figure out how to take him down or figure out who this dude is. That's a little much, especially when it was Britannian scientists that apparently made him. But overall, it's kind of interesting, and he has this giant mech, this giant Gundam, which they're calling the I forgot the foul bow or whatever, and he gets in it and he kind of looks pretty badass. This thing's probably more powerful than the Lancelot. And speaking of the Lancelot, this episode we get to see Suzaku. We get to see Suzaku here. I forget which it is. I can't show anything moving on the screen or like the text right away. Copyright nonsense. Yeah, here we go. We got Suzaku, and Suzaku's gonna take these things down. And these giant blender things, they look pretty strong. They have a very strong shell, but the top is pretty weak. The actual like blender thing at the top that blends the people up is pretty weak. And very interesting, we got a little hint in the previous episode of Norland. He mainly just wants to wipe out people because these things really only blend up people. If you notice in the last episode, they didn't blend up any animals. The dog would just be barking as like the owner gets like sucked up into this thing as it's going down these streets all across the world. Norland, maybe he has a soft spot for animals, the one thing he has a soft spot for, but for humans, not so much. He's trying to wipe them all out. And, we got to see the clone of Sakia. Well, I don't know if she's a clone or why exactly she looks like her. They really don't even explain that yet. But, the other Walter guy is, the Walter guy, how do I say other? The only Walter guy is trying to still protect her. And we got people being killed by these things. We got more backstory on Catherine. Basically, she follows Norland because he saved her as a kid from the guy who killed her parents and brutally murdered them, like cut the dude right through the chest with a sword. So she's, loyal to him, and that's why she thinks, the strong survive and the weak die, because Norland was able to save her, and her parents were weak and they died. Very similar to like a Makoto Shishio philosophy from Kenshin. Very, very similar to that. And she's having her Sojiro moment of maybe that's wrong. Maybe that ideology isn't all that's there is to the world. And this stuff's more complicated. So we had that. We also got a rematch with Arnold and Ash. And Arnold, for some reason, still thinks he can fight Ash, and he decided to use the swords that killed Ash's brother, and he just gets, he gets wrecked. He gets impaled. Although, listen, I think this dude, he's look at that badass kick he got, and then he gets impaled on this thing. I don't think he's dead, honestly. Like, he's kind of like the Jeremiah of this series. Like, he's just kind of like cybernetically immortal or something. Like, he's just not going to die. He'll be back to troll Ash and lose again, probably in in the next episode. Let's see. Is there anything else I'm forgetting here? I mean, it was kind of cool. We got to see some of the Quito the Exile guys and other characters. Also, Norland, or I should say the clone of Charles, he killed off like the Stanley guy at the beginning, who's his top scientist. And it's like, bro, you just lost your like best scientist last episode, or at least second best, and you killed a guy who's arguably better this episode. Now this plan fails. Like, you have no backup to wipe out humanity. This makes no sense. And also, it'd be cool if we had more backstory on why the clone of Charles hates humanity so much. Like, okay, he was a vassal. He didn't get to serve his purpose because Lelouch killed the emperor. Well, why does he hate humanity? Like, he has no purpose in life. He's nihilistic. He said he's not nihilist, but then like he hates humanity. It doesn't really explain a lot. He doesn't seem to have like a really strong philosophy, like let's say a Shinobu Sensui or something like that. Maybe he does like have some backstory like Shinobu Sensui from Yu Hakusho, where he saw some humans commit some war crimes, and that's why he's disgusted by humanity and he wants humanity wiped out. But that just not he's not flushed out in that way yet, and that kind of sucks. Like we need that flushed out, and that's why the series could have been longer, should have been longer, instead of just being this mini like movie series in Japan, where they're doing like hour-long theater showings of like each part. I think it's like 4 parts in Japan and 12 episodes on Hulu. We need like 25 episodes or something, 30 episodes even, of a story like this to explain the plot holes and explain this whole Norland being a Charles clone and all that. Okay, like just a little too rushed. Overall, I thought it still was very interesting. Getting to see a young Charles. Britannia is pretty badass, even if he's just a crazy wacko clone. But it would have been cooler probably if he was the actual Charles, and then maybe we can get him trying to do the Seas World stuff again, and because Seas World's like super interesting, and this guy doesn't seem to really care about that plan. He just wants to wipe out humanity for some reason that hasn't been flushed out yet. So yeah, just thought I'll do a review here. I'm gonna give it 7 or 8 out of 10. I usually rate these episodes pretty high without thinking, but honestly this one kind of deserves it. It was pretty fun, but again, just wish it was a little bit more flushed out. But yeah, wherever you are, have a fantastic day and peace out.